All right, on that happy note, welcome to your April 20th episode of
Tools at Tea Time
On Tuesdays.
with Tim and Anna. And happy National Lima Bean Respect Day, everybody.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. All right. So, as you can see, Tim and I hit the slopes again because of all the snow that we've been getting. And Tim is getting some air, and I just came down for mine, and we're just happy. And, the mountains are so beautiful, but here we go. So, I wanted to share something with you guys today. It is our SEL moment. And I know that you, as a teacher, you are doing that dance right now that requires a lot of balance and synchronization. And many of you are doing some state testing, you're doing all kinds of different kinds of testing. I know at our school we have common assessments and we have dibbles and all kinds of good stuff. And it is a dance. And you have to really try to balance yourself, balance your life, your home life, and your school life. So I wanted you to just take a few minutes to sit back and relax and enjoy these guys on the roof over here doing some balancing of their own. I think this is an amazing feat with really beautiful music. And pay attention to what they're doing, to how they stay connected and don't fall. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that. But here we go.
It's 4K, so you can punch.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. I think it's so beautiful to watch and how gracious they are, um, hitting that glass wall, and they look like feathers. But as you continue to fight for balance and do the crazy dance of the end of the school year, just remember that these guys have these lifelines, right, holding them down and making them not fall. So look for your lifelines. Who's holding you together? Who's holding you so you are not falling apart? So we appreciate all that you do, and thank you. Thank you for all you do for kids. So on that, we are going to move on to our roadmap, Tim.
All right. Well, today we're going to be following our normal sort of roadmap. We're going to be introducing today's theme and then our special guest, and we'll turn it over to our special guest to give you some inspirational ideas, followed by time for you guys to kind of check in with one another.
Sorry about those technical difficulties, but we are going to read from our email, imaginary fan base email. And here's what Rodney told us today. Dear Tim
Rodney.
and Anna, this sure has been a tough year for schools all around the globe. I have struggled this year maintaining motivation in my students, which leads to poor achievement for some. I want to be ready to connect and motivate students to achieve next school year. Do you have some tips on how to motivate students on a day-to-day basis? Thanks in advance, Rodney.
Rodney. Okay, Rodney. Well, funny you should ask because this week's theme is fostering and maintaining high motivation and achievement. And should I go ahead and introduce this week's special guest, Anna?
Yes, please.
Well, this week's special guest is my wonderful co-host, Anna Marlatt. And so we haven't heard from her yet as a special guest. Usually she just plays host with the most, but we're lucky to have her. So Anna, we'll turn this over to you and we'll pray screen sharing works. All
All
right.
right. Let me go ahead and try to get my presentation up here. And hopefully, I don't know why it's being so silly, but let's see if I get it to go. Maybe. All right. So I have Zoom and I'm going to share. Do you guys see?
We got you.
Whew. All right. Okay, I am so glad. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to talk to you about 6 keys. And this is a social emotional kind of philosophy. My husband and I were fortunate enough to go to some training in Vail, Colorado. My husband more than me, but we learned about the 6 keys during this training. It was a fantastic training. We were there for 7 days every year, and we learned quite a bit. So as you can see, we have 6 keys: safety, belonging, freedom, success, enjoyment, and purpose. And it is research-based. And these are the 4 main guys that the philosophy was built around. And when you think about the keys, you're thinking about fundamental, foundational needs that all humans have. And they are very critical for every human being to thrive as a human. When you think about kids that are struggling with motivation, they're underachieving, or they have a hard time with relationships, you can usually look to one of these keys and you find a way to motivate kids and adults. So we're going to start just going through the keys. The first one is safety, and that is safety from fear of embarrassment or physical harm. And here are some questions that you can ask kids or adults about the keys. Will they make fun of me? Will I be embarrassed? Will I look stupid? Is this environment safe for me? Will I be hurt? And if the safety key is a really strong key for a student or an adult, These are the things that they're going to be thinking about, and they need these needs to be met to feel good about the environment and feel motivated. Then we have the success key, and you find success through challenging and successful accomplishment and continued growth. So some of the questions, not all, but some of them: did I get it right? Did I accomplish what I set out to do? Did I achieve mastery? What are my contributions? Are they being respected by other people? And are the tasks that are being given to me challenging me? Sometimes they're not, and you get all kinds of behavior problems because of that. The third key: belonging. And kids and adults find belonging through valued inclusion, respect, and sincere caring. Kids will ask or have a need to feel that they are respected. They need to have a need to feel they belong. They ask, is there sincere care for me and my needs? And kids can smell uh, fake caring a mile away. You can't really fake that. Do I feel valued? Am I part of the group? Am I included in what's going on? So that's the belonging key. Then the freedom key: through the power and the opinion to make meaningful and valued decisions and have a voice. And I'm so sorry, my phone is ringing and we're just going to ignore it for now. Um, do I have choices? Do I have a say in what happens? Am I being manipulated to think or act in one way or another? And again, kids, they know that, they feel that, they understand. And for some kids, more than others, choices are very important. And I would say that it also depends on what time, if they're in middle school or high school. Um, I think elementary kids tend to not be as strong with this. They kind of go with the flow. But for some kids, this is a very important aspect. And then enjoyment. You find enjoyment through engagement in what provides either fun or enjoyment. Are we having fun? Do we get to interact with others? Am I just sitting at my desk and only doing my thing? Do I feel comfortable, and do I love being where I am? And then the purpose key. And the purpose key is through knowing and believing that what is being done is fulfilling a need, solving a problem, or serving a purpose that is valued by the learner. And for a lot of people and a lot of adults, the purpose key is very important. You go to PD and you don't see purpose in what's going on, you feel very demotivated to really participate and give it your all. Some of the questions that people with a purpose key being strong with them think about it are my needs being fulfilled? Am I interested in this? Is working hard for this worth the effort? Was the reason for what we are doing explained to me? And a lot of teachers do that when they present the goal of the lesson and kind of break it down. But some teachers don't do that. Do I value what I am participating in? So that's the purpose key. So I want you to think about these keys, and don't do a lot of thinking about it. But I bet as I'm going through them quickly, one spoke to you more than others. And if don't do a lot of thinking about it, but if you were like, yep, that's me right there, I would like you to just take a few minutes and just put that on the chat. Which one would be your number one key if you were to pick one? So go to the chat and pick one that you think would be the most important. And you can go ahead and share it anytime.
Anna, so much interesting brain science behind each of those 6 keys about
Right.
what parts of your brain light up. I mean, this is not our imagination. Neuroscience is definitely showing this to be true. Purpose, belonging, purpose, or enjoyment. Yeah. And how often do we tell kids this is today's standard? And we know why they need to know that in life, but they don't know why they have to learn that. Yeah.
Right. I
Belonging,
see a lot of purpose. Yeah.
freedom. And I think it indicates probably each person has a different priority. Even adults have different priorities, huh?
Yeah. And you could have a couple keys that are really important to you. But I appreciate you sharing that. Um, and I would say one really important key for me is fun and enjoyment. I have a really hard time not finding humor in things or having a opportunity to celebrate. That is really important to me. So I think I pass that on to, my staff, my family. We're always trying to find a reason to celebrate. So as you think about the most important key for you, be aware that kids in your class right now have a key that is important to them as well. And when you are not fulfilling the needs that the kid have around that key, usually that is a big reason why they feel demotivated. And it could be as simple as, and I will share some resources with you where you could ask questions of your kids to find out what key is important to them. And then if the freedom key is important to them, you start offering them some choices. They don't have to choose anything, but they could choose maybe, well, you could work on this or this. And maybe just that would be enough to motivate your kids and feel like, wait a minute, I'm in now. I have a choice. I can do this. Or sharing the purpose of an activity might be the thing that's missing for your kids to feel motivated and enjoy the activity. Um, Using the keys with the students or adults is you have to know these keys. It's a pretty simple concept, but it could go very deep. We talked about which one you value the most, sharing the keys with your students, and finding out which key or keys your students value the most. And then, how are you cultivating these keys? I know last year when I shared this with our staff had a little metal key that they wrote their most important key and kept looking at that. And I was hoping that by looking at that, they would be thinking about their students. But that is something to think about.
Kate,
With,
Kate's holding up
oh,
her key
there's
right now.
Kate. She's holding her key. Yes. And Kate, has your key changed at all since the last time we did this?
It actually has changed. I wrote enjoyment on this, but I feel more like belonging or purpose right now because of the year we've had.
Right. Well, and for some people, safety is a really strong key right now because of COVID and guidelines and regulations. And they want to know, if I go to school today, am I going to be safe? And kids are there too. They need to know that they are feeling safe. Again, just doing a little bit of work around that, I think you would find that motivation would come back for your kids. So I am going to stop this right now. And Tim, if you don't mind getting us back on the, yep.
Yep. So we're going to go to breakout for a few minutes because we'd like you guys to discuss. Anna's getting you into breakout groups as I speak. What are some ways that you connect and motivate your students to achieve? Or you might even discuss what is your key and how could you find out about your students' keys? But have a few minutes to talk about this interesting topic, and we'll be back. Please, if you're in breakout group number 2, would you please stay in the main room? Don't accept the invitation because we want to record one breakout group for the people who watch later.
Yes. So number 2 stays in. And one thing I forgot to say is that there are resources available for you right now where there's a survey, there's a reading on the 6 keys if you want to go deeper on that. And it's all in our folder. And we'll talk about, in case you go there and you're like in your breakout room and you're like, so how do I find out what my kids' keys are? there are resources for you waiting. All right, so here we go. Open all the rooms. All right, I think we're good.
Yeah, so we got Lynn and Gina and John here. Tell us about how some tricks and interesting techniques you use to motivate your students and how they might relate to these keys.
Sorry, I'm trying to cook dinner while I'm hanging all my learning on.
It's okay, Gina. We appreciate you being here with us. That's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna say I definitely started the year wanting to make sure that there was a sense of belonging because we were virtual and I felt like the kids really needed that. So I still do it even when we're in person now, every day with a community circle where all the kids have to tell me, how they're feeling each day. And then we answer like a random question. Sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're fun. It just depends. Sometimes they have to do with our lesson, sometimes they don't. But it just gives us all the chance to get to know more about each other. And in the beginning of the year, it was like the kid would be like, I'm a 5 and I like puppies. And that was all you would get. And now it's like, I have to tell them to be quiet, that it's the next person's turn. And these are high school students. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love your point, Gina, that what motivates high school students is not that much different than what motivates adults or kindergartners. This being human, these are very deep things in the old parts of our brain, I think. Yeah. What about John or Lynn?
I'm going to unmute. Oh, I'm glad to hear what Gina just said, because I was subbing today at a high school. And so, I mean, I don't know if we train them or what, but they just kind of come in and they sit down and they open up your devices. And really, there's not a whole lot of interacting. So I liked what you said. And it wasn't until like my 4th period that I said, okay, I'm just going to have a conversation. I'm going to have to talk to someone as opposed to just watching them, work on their device. But I think you're right, getting them to talk about what they're interested in. And so it was great. I mean, it was great to hear, some of what's going on in their life. And it made the period go a lot faster, as opposed to my just watching them, work on their devices.
Yeah, I imagine social distancing right now, Lynn, in the classroom must be kind of an obstacle to doing a lot of that because people are still largely on their devices is what I'm seeing and hearing. Because you have kids hybrid, some at school and some at home. Yeah, it's been a tricky year for this kind of 6 keys thing. I'm bringing people back, but John, did you want to bring anything into the conversation? Anna lost her internet, so we're bringing people back. So
I think just the purpose and just trying to connect them to bigger and broader things, simple things. Today I was talking about, we were talking about oxygen and the important parts of releasing energy and how COVID prevents oxygen from getting to their cells, and that's why people die. So cellular respiration without using the word, and it was very direct to why we're connecting. So I think connecting to the real world really helps to me to bring purpose back to why we're talking about it.
Yeah. And I think we think that they have to like everything we're going to teach, but I think just helping them understand what the reason why we're learning this often has value. Well, welcome back, everybody. We lost Anna, the co-host. Her internet went down at home. And so she's texting me as we speak, but luckily she was the presenter and she didn't leave in the middle of her presentation. So
yeah, her tech support is not at home. It's here at school. So
well, yeah, you're here to represent. So so thanks for coming, everybody. Anna and I really appreciate you joining us today. And we hope that you know that Anna's put a lot of good tools in this folder for you if you're interested in checking out more about the 6 keys. Also, Connor Saylor will be joining us next week. And Connor works at the Denver Center for International Studies at Baker. And he will be talking to us about how he's been using gamification in breakout rooms. And so I hope that you'll be able to join us next week when he comes. Also, summer is coming. Yes, it is summer. And we hope that you all are thinking about how you can take care of yourself, revive and invigorate nominate yourself. And we hope that one of those might be to join us for one of our professional development offerings. For those of you like Carol that live far away in the Springs, or Lynn, you can leave your pajamas on. One of our options this summer is going to be to offer a virtual course again this summer for people that are not in the immediate metro area and don't want to fight the traffic. So we hope that you'll come. It's called The Language of Inquiry. That's for teachers in grades 6 through 12. But we also have a field course going out in Rocky Mountain National Park. And we have a course at the museum for those of you that love coming to our wonderful museum. So please come join us. How come my slide is not advancing? This has been the tech week from hell. Okay, so my slide, oh, there we go. And so until next week, we hope that you'll invite your friends to come join us. And we really appreciate you being here, everybody. Have a great week. I would say Q&A with Anna would follow, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, she's here.
I'm here. I finally got back in. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
It's like Easter. She's arisen. Okay.
Oh.
Anyway, Anna, if people have questions for Anna, stick with us. And if you don't, we appreciate seeing you. We'll see you next week.
Oh my goodness. I am so sorry.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. This was awesome to think about. Do you have people like hang the keys in their room, or it's something you talk about with students, but there's not like a physical model of it?
No, you can do that. And actually, the book that we got when we went to the conference, that was one of the examples that teachers do. They create these keys and hang them so the kids are always looking at them. There's all kinds of things that you can do. You can have them reflect and pick one that they feel speaks to them the most at that time. They can reflect about why maybe it has changed or one has become stronger than the other. So there's lots of different things that you can do to promote that in your classroom.
It'd be an interesting reflection tool, even from a science or social studies perspective. You could start off with like a story of how a discovery was made and ask them to reflect on like what somebody else would be feeling, what key would be important to them as they were making that discovery or going through that event. Sorry, my camera's shaking. My cat's pushing on the screen.
No, that's an interesting idea,
okay.
Caitlin. That idea that if you taught language arts or social studies, to ask people like a person, and what do you think their key was? What do you think the key was that motivated them in the story or in their life too? Yeah.
Well,
Even a way to interpret poetry.
Yeah.
Good characterization tool.
Well, and we talked about how you don't want to break the key. You know, like sometimes you want to force something and then kind of putting the key in the door and then it's not opening it, so you break it. But you do want the key to open the door to motivation, open the door to feel like you're all in and you're a part of things that are happening. So that's another metaphor to think about. Don't break the keys, just use them to open that door and help kids, you know, maybe some thinking around that helps them get out of their shell and participate and get things done, because now they understand how it affects them.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, you use the keys a lot at your school. Anything you want to add to these guys that are here?
Well, we use it as a foundational piece to all of our discipline and culture here. The staff uses it in the first 2 weeks with kids, very similar to what Anna's sharing, different kinds of activities of identifying their strongest point. I use it in boot camp with staff, and I make them identify their strongest, but then their weakest, because their weakest one, the one they don't care very much about, usually often becomes something they don't provide in their classroom. And there's a lot of kids that is the most important one to them. So like safety is not a big deal to me usually. So I might be super risky and over the top and wanting people to say things right away. And I don't think it's a big deal, but some of those kids, I'm too much. And the thing about it is when you hurt a key or a key is not available to a student, chemicals release in their body that shut down their ability to actually learn.
That goes to what Tim was talking about,
Right.
brain chemistry
Yes.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
The
both of you,
cortisol is released and they cannot work.
yeah, when you
Good.
two were both talking about safety, I was reminded that, you're talking about physical safety versus like social safety. And what's interesting is that when you look at other mammals and compare them to humans, we're unique in that the same parts of our brain light up when someone inflicts physical pain on you as when they inflict like social pain, like embarrassment. And that's not true with most other mammals. And so, like you said, Kevin, we can want kids to be really brave, and we're adults and have our what together. But so we don't feel the danger. But for
Right.
kids that are developing, they must really, yeah.
I've often tried to help staff realize sarcasm isn't going to get you anywhere. And we can use the keys to think about how many keys are broken with sarcasm. It's just not just the safety key, it's even the belonging key. Some kids feel like, well, you like them more than you like me, I don't belong as well. We find it to be a great rubric for thinking through with kids, but also as administrators with our staff. What's going on? What key is not there right now that's causing the culture to rise?
So how do you manage all these keys, knowing that even if you did like an evaluation, you taught it kind of thing in the beginning, and then you evaluated the kids, and then you've got just like modes of learning. So how do you incorporate this idea of, keeping all the keys open, because you need all the keys for all the kids to be motivated to get engaged? How do you manage all that?
Well, I'll answer that, and then if Kevin wants to join. But I think for me, it's you just take one kid at a time, and you need to know them and know what clicks for them, and know that, like what Kevin was saying, safety might not be important to me, but it is important to this kid. When COVID hit, safety was not that big a deal to me. And I know I'm a little bit more daring than others, but it wasn't. But I had to really pay attention to that because it was important to many people in my staff. So I needed to look at it through that key to make sure that their needs are being met. It wasn't important to me, but it was really important to them. And same for kids, if you know that a specific kid has a need around something, in one of those keys, then you think of ways to provide for that. And I think it goes one kid at a time. That's how I would manage it.
I would just add that, yes, it is a tool for understanding individual kids and having relationships with them. But I think the practice of a professional educator, the things we do are taking care of the keys. For instance, if I have strong routines, I'm providing safety. I'm providing success. Those routines also build together to provide an opportunity for kids to belong to each other so they can work in groups effectively. When I present a good, clear learning target, I'm creating purpose for those kids who really need purpose to guide their work about why am I going to do this? What's it going to look like when it's done? Do I care about it? When I think about providing choice, like choose 2 of these 5 things to show me your learning, I'm addressing the freedom key, but it's also great pedagogy to do that. It's good planning to do that. When I think about those 5 choices, I think about, well, what's going to be engaging and fun and enjoyment for kids. I'm not just going to pick the most dry 5 things and make you pick 2. That's me as a professional educator. What is exciting for kids? How can I use activities like that in my instruction to find out their learning? All these things begin to dovetail. And when you have the 6 keys in the back of your mind, it helps you in your planning, in your routines, in your structures, and you are addressing the keys right there. In fact, I think Anna probably put in one of the resources is kids will answer questions around, are these things present in class? And it really gives you then a map of, well, this needs to be part of my professional practice. And I can do that, and I can do it all at once in a single lesson, and it's all being addressed. So it can be addressed holistically, but also then, of course, individually as we're building personal relationships with each kid or kids to kids.
Yeah. And if you take a look in that folder, the writing around the 6 keys is on there. I scanned the book in there, and there's, I think, 2 different surveys. One that you can do with adults, one you can do with the kids. And I know that Kevin has done this with his staff, and we just started where we're using that as a screener for hiring teachers. Just, trying to get a feel for how would you create belonging in your classroom? How would you make kids feel safe in your classroom? And having those answers tell us, if this is a candidate that we're going to have to do a lot of work with, or if this is somebody that, can add to what we're already doing. Or if somebody that we're like, ooh, we got to stay away. So it is a good screener as well, and help us decide how people are. So
Yeah, and John, I hear you. It's
I
a
don't
lot
know.
it's a
I
lot
feel
of
like I might be losing my internet again. I don't know.
Yeah, John, I hear you. It's a lot of things to manage. And yet I do think it's just one day at a time, one kid at a time, like Anna said. So, hey, everybody, I think we're going to have to wind it up because we have to keep these recordings to a certain length, but it's been a wonderful, and thanks for sticking around. I think I enjoyed the
Yeah, thanks,
conversation
man.
after as
I
much as
know.
anything before too. So,
And I'm
Thanks,
so
Kevin.
sorry I got kicked out.
no, you were a pro, you were rock. So great.
Thank you, guys.
Tim, I sent you an
Thank you.
email, by the way.
Yeah, I got it, John. Sorry, I haven't responded.
No, it's okay.
I had to move on. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Thought provoking.
Okay, thanks.
Take care.